hijacked.
CNN covering the Steubenville rape case. Two of the young men who did the rape were convicted, rightfully so, it appears. So they're going to do coverage on how hurtful this was, not to the victim, but to the people who did the rape. Fascinating spin on the story. Let's watch.
I cannot imagine, having just watched this on the feed coming in, how emotional that must have been sitting in the courtroom.
I've never experienced anything like it, Candy. It was incredibly emotional, incredibly difficult even for an outsider like me to watch what happened as these two young men that had such promising futures, star football players, very good students, literally watched as they believed their life fell apart. One of the young men, Malik Richmond, when that sentence came down, he collapsed. He collapsed in the arms of his attorney, Walter Madison. He said to him, "My life is over. No one is going to want me now." And Malik's attorney said to us in the courtroom, "I have never heard Malik's father before say, 'I love you.'" He's never told his son that, but he just did today. This was an incredibly emotional day. These two juveniles being carried out right now. I'm watching people line up, and they will be committed today.
You know when the victim collapsed? When they raped her. No mention of the victim there. At one point, they did finally play the victim's mother talking, but the entire time before that, they had been playing the people who were convicted, those two guys, their dad's emotional testimony, the crying, etc. And you know, they said, "I love them," constantly referring to them as juveniles, which they are. Look, I don't need CNN to punish the kids any more than they were already getting punished. We had a trial, they were convicted, they're going to go to jail for a long time. But it might behoove you to consider the victim here, that instead of worrying about how, oh my God, this is going to affect the rest of the perpetrators' lives. Yes, it's also going to affect the victim's life. That's why they were on trial, and the victim is the victim. These appear to be the most obvious things in the world, but apparently not to CNN because they continue.
Yeah, the most severe thing with these young men is being labeled as registered sex offenders. That label is now placed on them by Ohio law. And by the way, the laws in most other states now require such a designation in the face of such a serious crime. That will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Employers, when looking up their background, will see that they're registered sex offenders. When they move into a new neighborhood and somebody goes on the internet where these things are posted, neighbors will know that they're a registered sex offender. It's really something that will have a lasting impact.
You know what else has a lasting impact on your life? Getting raped. It's amazing how much time they spent talking about the poor defendants who were convicted of rape. Yeah, I know it'll affect their lives. Of course, it should. That's why we punish people who have raped others. Look, this sex offender list has a lot of issues on it. Putting rapists on them is not one of the issues. Weird coverage. It got so weird that it literally turned into what appeared to be an onion piece. Now, we're going to show you an onion piece that's similar to this. I warn you, this is not actually CNN, although it looks like it.
Jacob Ross is an all Big 12 athlete, a dedicated student, and a fierce competitor. But his greatest achievement came off the courts in his freshman year when he overcame the trauma of committing a terrible rape.
And this is where it happened.
It was just last December when, drunk after a party, Jacob found himself alone in his room with a young woman from his hall and forced himself on her.
It's just something that happened, you know? I'm not just gonna sit around and wish it didn't.
Trying to put the rape behind him, Jacob went out the next night and scored a career-high 37 points.
Well, the way I look at it is like this. I was brought here to go to class and play basketball. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's not about who I raped.
So you just put it out of your mind?
Uh-huh, yeah.
The next day, he learned he was being charged with sexual assault.
Coach was really not happy with the fact that I had to miss practice because I raped someone.
His former high school coach says Jacob's an inspiration to his current players.
He's got a quick first step, good outside shot, doesn't get down on himself after a bad play or when he gets accused of rape.
I mean, it was funny when they originally did the piece. Now that CNN has done something incredibly similar with a real rape case, It's not as funny. And Gabrielle Garcia had enough of it, and she started a petition on change.org that by Monday had already gotten to 80,000 people signing it, complaining about what CNN had done in their abhorrent coverage there. I'm sure it's much higher now that we haven't checked on it in a couple of hours. But CNN should at least consider the victim a little bit more the next time around. Seems at least fair to ask.